Imagine a prison where both guards and inmates feel safe. So safe the guards don't even have to carry guns around with them when interacting with the inmates because their most powerful defense is respectful communication, where the punishment lies within the sentence and nothing more. Heck, even a murderer not being sentenced more than 21 years. Of course, some would say that's absurd time to give a murderer, but hey, in America we have a good record of college students convicted of rape having reduced sentences going from an expected 12 years in prison to 2 years and 20 to life on probation, which is what happened to Austin James Wilkerson in 2016. But the way this humane prison works is a 5-year increment can be added every 5 years indefinitely if the judge believes the person has not rehabilitated. The benefit society gets as a whole from this type of prison is a reduced recidivism rate of 20% compared to the US, which is 76.6% within 5 years of release. Recidivism is the likelihood of convicted criminals to reoffend again. Well, this isn't a magical prison. This is Norway's prison. In America, the Eighth Amendment bans cruel and unusual punishment. Yet these still seem to be side effects of mistreatment of inmates. But something as simple as eating a decent amount is hard to achieve there and inhumane.
For the inmates here, I think a lot of people are dealing with a lot of issues, so those issues aren't being addressed, so a lot of people are still angry for what led them to come to prison. They might be angry at what's going on, the condition that they're living in. Finances is a big thing, people aren't eating, so, if your stomach is growling, people don't tend to be the most, civil person.
Health risks are bad with people getting infections with strains resistant to antibiotics, that is, if they get proper medical help. Sexual assaults and sexual activity are known in prisons, but according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, findings suggest in 1 year, 70,000 prisoners are sexually abused. Prisoners are also rarely have access to protection, if any, which leads me back to the health issues. Now we will look at the mental effects. Solitary confinement is allowed in 44 states. What solitary confinement entails is 24 hours with the lights on, no books, visits and calls are very restricted. In Stephen Slevin's case, he was arrested under DUI and forgotten for 22 months in solitary confinement before even being given a fair trial. And the long-term effects of solitary confinement are, but not limited to, visual auditory hallucinations, insomnia, paranoia, uncontrollable rage or anger, distortion of time and perception. Imagine trying to sleep with lights on, not even knowing what time of day it is or how long you've been in there for, as well as increased rate of suicide. Here's some food for thought. If we thought they were bad enough to go to jail with being dehumanized by their own country and system and society, how much worse could they be for not just themselves but society as a whole upon release? We are overflowing with prisoners. The American criminal justice system is holding more than 2.3 million people in 1,719 state prisons, 102 federal prisons, 79 Indian country jails, as well as military prisons, immigration detention facilities, civil commitment centers, and prisoners in U.S. territories. What does this mean for us? As taxpayers, we spend more than triple since 1980, costing each U.S. resident about $260 per year on corrections. There is also such a thing as big money companies privatizing jails, making profit, locking up people for little to no reason, but you can look into that later. America has an interesting history as far as its prison system goes that seems to have dragged into modern day society. As far as having expectations but not giving the tools to help goes, back then the poor who couldn't settle their debt would be locked up, not only guaranteeing them not being given a chance to work and pay off what they owe, which in turn would hurt their families they couldn't support and their Christian charity being obliged to provide for them and their families. Kind of like taxpayers nowadays paying so much to unnecessarily keep people locked up instead of helping them better themselves, costing society less in many ways, although debtors' prisons were abolished in the 1830s. It seems America continues to live with the same concept, punishing people without giving them a chance to change and better themselves, not only for them, but for society as a whole. Here is what the US prison system is currently looking like and what we're currently doing. Change is slightly on the way. The US is working towards reform in both federal and state levels. As of August 2013, Attorney General Eric Holder announced change in the Department of Justice policy so low-level, nonviolent drug offenders with no ties to large crime groups such as gangs and cartels will not be charged with crimes that carry unnecessary sentences, which in turn would help with the overflowing inmates issue. As well as 17 states currently take part in the Justice Reinvestment Initiative, which is a program aimed at decreasing spending on corrections by reducing prison populations and increasing public safety, thus saving taxpayers' money. States and local officials will also decide how to reinvest a portion of savings in programs that can help decrease time. There was a documentary about a juvenile hall in Peoria, and it talked about how the kids still have school and would meet with a counselor that would check up on them as well as help them reflect on what caused them to go down the path they did and understand their wrongdoings and figure out where they can go from there. And the kids also worked towards good behavior that would be taken into consideration to possibly shortening their sentences. Adults are human too. Why shouldn't they have the same chance to turn themselves around? When asked about changes they would like to see in the prison, you'd be surprised at what the prisoners had to say.
So we're going to just take you piece by piece. First, we're going to start with the security, right? There's no walls in this facility, no bars. It's more of a campus setting. We thought about having like ID cards where you go to the building and you have to check in. And right on your ID card is like a computer chip, and it logs you in at what time you're there. So you're being monitored everywhere you go. It's not like you could just leave the campus at all. We spoke about having more access to secondary education, such as college, associates, bachelor's, master's degree programs, and if you choose so, a doctorate program. Degrees that you can use upon reentry, not just liberal arts degrees or philosophy degrees. We're talking about business degrees, teaching degrees, computer engineering, things like that. And that also takes me into the vocational center. Basically, is some of them are a little outdated. So if we had more up-to-date vocational programs like computer literacy, computer training, with actual up-to-date computers, it would equip the individual upon reentry to be able to reenter successfully. Also an anger management program. We spoke about a parenting program that would actually help fathers, and if it was a female facility, mothers to become better parents, because we felt that was one of the most important things for individuals to rehabilitate themselves is contact with their family. Also, maybe possibly emailing through the phone. Again, this is something, especially with technology today. If for example, if your family member was unable to visit you, you could Skype with them possibly. Do that, right?
I'm Rosa Visslers. I'm the Executive Director of Yoga Behind Bars. We are a team of super rad women. Currently, we are at 16 facilities, prisons, jails, and youth detention centers.
The prison system can do more to help provide education, instruction in life skills, and adequate medical care. Having these improvements can result in reduced recidivism rate and ultimately prison population, making ex-prisoners safer and productive members of society, as well as lessen the burden on taxpayers. As proven by Norway's and many other world-leading countries' systems, changing our system can have a significant impact on many aspects of society. It all starts here at home.